Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.
What up? Welcome back once again to the Necro Zoo. I am Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and add 2 more figures to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now today, we will take a look at the Mega 2-pack of The Death of Superman, Doomsday, and Superman. Now for right now, this is coming from Target. I did pre-order a set, but let's see if they do get some in stock or if people start finding them in the wild. But I don't think it'll be too hard to get this one. But it is rather interesting because it is the first 2-pack that includes a Mega Fig and a regular 7-inch scaled figure. Now everybody was really excited when this was revealed, but let's see if it lives up to the hype. But first, both figures do come with your standard black DC Multiverse stand. Now of course, these are not really needed, but sometimes they do come in useful. Each one does come with a data file card. You have the one for Superman with that classic image of the tattered cape hanging on a pole after the battle. On the back you do have some information, your basic rundown of Superman, Kal-El. On the Doomsday one you have another image from the comics. And this one he actually is beating the brakes off of Superman, and he has a bunch of heroes already devastated at his feet. Kind of bummer they got my boy Connor Kent down there, not cool. But on the back you do have more information. Now, pretty limited packaging. Usually the 2-packs do come with a base. This time they do not, but you can always use your older base from the Devastator and Superman 2-pack. The only other accessories that come with this set are the flight hands for Superman, which a lot of people were not too happy about. I mean, it is cool, you can put him in some flight poses, but fighting Doomsday, you don't these don't really make a lot of sense, but we'll take care of that later on in the video. Now, I'm not really going to do the articulation on the Superman, but I will talk about him a little bit. But mainly we'll take a look at Doomsday because he is more of a newer figure. This Superman, of course, is on the same infected body book, so not too many differences there. But let's take a closer look at him. Now, first off, it does look as though he has the head sculpt based on the Hush Superman. Very little battle damage there, some blood on the edge of his mouth, a little bit on his forehead, sort of grimacing, angry expression on the face, but it is nicely sculpted. One big difference also is that he has a light wash like on his hair. I don't know if that's supposed to represent like dust or debris, but it is sort of grayish, not a little bit blue, but a little lighter color, just to give it a little bit of effect on the hair. So that's awesome. Now I want to talk about the body damage, the battle damage, because pretty much it looks like some cat scratches. Right here under the chest you have a little bit of like where they kind of wanted to show flesh tone, but it just didn't really realize itself pretty well. It's not even flesh colored, it's more like a kind of brown gray. And the rest of the suit just has like little scratch marks. And I had talked about this before where the boots look like they had blood on them, but I guess it's supposed to represent more like grime and dirt from fighting Doomsday. So this is the first thing I did change on this figure, is I went ahead and went in and added a little bit more of a skin tone. Now I did this where it's supposed to be skin tone at the chest, but then I went ahead and wherever they had like the little scratch marks on the 2 arms and on the thigh, I went ahead and added some skin tone and then borderlined it with black and then added little dabs of red to represent blood. And then one more thing I changed is on the face. I actually, since I had some red left over, I went ahead and dabbed a little more on the mouth, put a little bit more on this left side crook of the mouth, and added like sporadically around the neck and a little bit more on the forehead, just to give him a little bit more color and add to the, blood effect, the battle damage effect. So I thought that was pretty cool. All in all, it's a nice figure. Of course, the cape is a distressed, tattered cape, but they forgot to put the yellow S on the back, which if they just would have done that little detail, this, set would be more sought after. I just do not get it sometimes with the little decisions they make. That could have been just, printed on, not a big deal. And the other thing, of course, was the hands. Everybody was mad he did not come with fist hands. Now, I had already pre-planned this because I picked up the 2-pack from Earth 3 of Superman and Ultraman, and I knew that I would be using the fist. So if you want to, you can pop out these hands, and actually those hands fit perfectly without a problem at all. You don't have to mod them or anything. They are actually made for the same pegs as that 2-pack. And then once you have the 2 fists in there, now that looks a lot better. Like he's ready to fight Doomsday, get him in some flying poses. Pretty awesome. And I knew this would happen, so that's why I went ahead and picked up that 2-pack from Earth 3. And that's why also I did not cry about it, because I knew that I would remedy it. Once I got this set in, I would have the fist just waiting for the figure, just to give it that little bit of spice. All in all, he's a pretty cool figure. Now we can try some alternate heads on him. We'll try the regular Superman 1000 head, which just makes him look battle damaged, but not really showing any emotion. And then we'll use the 2-pack, the Devastator 2-pack head, where he did have a really angry, upset face on there, which that does kind of match well with this figure and with the battle damage, so that's pretty cool. And then let's go ahead and try the Hush Heat Ray Vision head, and just to see how that looks. You could also use this head as well when you're taking some figure photography or putting them in poses together. Now they do work well together, posing and fighting. It's just the way you want to add the little details yourself to, just enhance it a little bit. Now I did want to make a special guest appearance from my, work in progress definitive Superman. Now let's see how he actually scales up next to the Doomsday, because the one that comes in the pack is actually pretty short. So it works either way. You could either have Devastator looking really massive, but I just wanted to let you guys take a look at this definitive Superman. I'm almost done with him. I just need to paint the boots, and I do want to kind of add a little different hints of another blue just to bring out, because I think the blue looks a little bit drab. So I am going to do like a little bit of a brighter blue just in certain spots, and then I should be almost done after a couple of paint details, and then I'll make a video on how I made this definitive Superman. So pretty cool. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the Doomsday. Now first impressions, tons of sculpt work on here. We will actually compare this one to the old DC Universe classic signature series Doomsday, and also the Devastator figure, just to see the differences and how they stack up to each other. Now this one, you could tell all the sculpting detail that they added. Now it's easy to make a Doomsday figure with a couple of little bumps. It's hard to make a Doomsday figure with so much, intricate detail, little spikes, little, grain and little marks, muscle tone. It's just a really nice looking figure. He is pretty big. So all in all, I'm really happy with him. He is heavy. He is not hollow like some of the figures, so I'll give him that much. But he looks really good in hand. Finally, let's take a look at that head sculpt. Man, I think that's the best part of this figure, is that really horrific head sculpt. Chef's Kiss, where they added the articulated jaw, which is awesome. The eyes have a real creepy vibe, sort of a lifeless vibe, like a doll's eyes. Just no kind of life in there, like no no F's given, right? Now he does have the ponytail, which was not a problem for me. Most of the Doomsday figures I ever saw had a ponytail. Now this is kind of, taking different parts of different Doomsdays and putting them together. But if anyone was just look at this, they know that it's Doomsday. It's nothing hard to figure out. But he is really cool. Another thing that's awesome is he has great articulation. I don't know, how they did it, but I think the peg is nice and long. That way it's not so pushed down onto the shoulders, where he does get a good amount of range. Pretty sweet. Run through the articulation really quick. You do have side to side at the waist. You have the full tilt-a-whirl, nice smooth movement. You got the lower waist swivel, upper chest swivel. Could twist him, get him in some fighting poses. He actually does have a crunch. Since he's like really squat down, the upper chest hits the top of the belt right away. But, it's better to have some crunch than none. And of course he could lean back, get him in some battle poses. Pretty cool. Let's take a look at the shoulders. Now this one does have the socket and bushing shoulder joint, which gives you a lot of movement, a lot of range in the shoulder there. And it also covers the gap that would be between the shoulder and the chest. You got up and down, front to back. No bicep swivel, but at the elbow you do have a swivel there to give you more range. Now the elbow is just at a 90 or even less, but that swivel is really what gives you a lot of movement. Now on this side you have a spiked out fist, but he does have movement in the wrist, and on the other side you have an open kind of claw, but the same thing. You can move the wrist in a lot of positions. Now these are basically the Devastator arms, but right now we'll take a look at them next to each other and just see how many parts are actually reused. Can't get his arms above his head. Pretty awesome. Now moving down, he does have his remnants of his containment suit that is actually a part in the comics when he first, breaks out. Pretty nice texture. Now the trunks of the suit are really soft, more than usual. You got the belt, you got the straps around the thighs. Let's check out the thigh swivel. Oh, pretty generous thigh swivel. Can kick up pretty well. Of course you could kick back. The trunks do move out of the way, and when you put the legs back, they go back to their original position. Can cock out his knee. He does have that farther hip swivel. No double jointed knees, so you get what you get out of it. Straighten them out, up and down at the ankle. Have a knee swivel, and the thing is that when you try and move your boot left to right, it's just going to give you rocker. But that is why you have this swivel. So if you want to move the boot, you can actually move it. But you can also move it using the thigh swivel. So basically you could get them into like crouching positions if you want to. You just got to work with it. But it can be done. You do have rocker and no toe articulation, so that's all right, not a big deal. I do wish he had it, but now that I wish he had it, he doesn't have it, so not a big loss. But before we go, let's take a look at the complete lower body. Beautiful sculpt work. Those boots are painted out nice. Now I don't know, we might want to add a color here to the top of the boots, maybe match it up with the bands and the belt. probably do it in like a gunmetal silver just to make it match a little bit more with, like, I think in the comics the containment suit has a lot of metallic colors on it, but it is beautifully sculpted out with all kinds of detail. Take a look at them from the bottom. A sort of side tread and then some identifying marks. Moving up the back, more sculpt work. Even the hinges have sculpt work. The suit has a cool texture. And then you got some ragged edges at the top and then into the back of the Doomsday figure. Love that spine work. And of course a lot of bumps and spikes in there mixed around, so pretty cool. Now he is kind of easy to stand. It's not a big deal, but his legs are a little loose, so you might have to, finagle them a little bit to get them exactly how you want them. But for the most part, he stands pretty easily. Let's go ahead and bring out the Devastator. Now, you could see the big size discrepancy here. Devastator is way smaller. Now, I always took this as this is a monster, Kryptonian monster that feeds off energy, and that's why he's so large. And this is actually Bruce Wayne, who stuck himself with the Doomsday serum, and that's what actually changed him. So I don't think he's gonna be as big as this Doomsday, but whatever. They should have made him, a little bit taller. It would have been a lot better. But let's take a look at them next to each other and see the differences. Now, they do both have the articulated jaw, which is nice. You could see subtle differences there in the chest and in the shoulder spikes. As we said, the arms are the same, but the spikes are slightly different on the forearms. You do have the remnants of the material from the suit on the Devastator, and that actually goes over into this Doomsday. We might want to paint that green just to make it make sense, because right now it just looks like rags. And I know they did that to just make it all one color for Devastator. I might want to see how it looks if you try and match that green, just to make it look like it's the remnants of the containment suit. Now the lower body is completely different. You know what might be the same as well is the ab part, underneath the chest. That does look very similar. Maybe that is a reuse, but the chest definitely is not. You have different spikes. The thighs are not. The feet are not. So basically you're looking at just the arms, and then maybe the lower ab part are the same. And the back. Now I really still enjoy this Devastator figure. He is from Dark Knight's Metal, and I never really had a problem with him. I was working on a taller version of him. I think he's back there up on the custom shelf. I am going to work on it. I kind of, never finished it, but I do have his height. I just need to add some more parts around the knees. But that is, basically McFarlane used this as a start off point for the Doomsday. Now let's go ahead and bring in another big boy, and that is the DC Signature Universe Classics Doomsday. Now these are just completely different designs. The main difference you could see is this is really more of a 90s comic look of Doomsday, and the sculpt work and everything really harkens back to, jumping off of the pages of the comic, where this one is more of a newer, gritty, grotesque take on Doomsday. So this one actually has more sculpt work, because if you look at this one, it's pretty plain besides where it has the spikes. But for the most part, it's just that DC Universe Classic body, which is just bland and doesn't have any sort of texture or spikes or anything. But it still is a beautiful figure. He does have the ponytail, just, the way he does. And I know the eyes have that mesh over the top of it, which I'm not sure in the comics how that is. You could see where I said that the containment suit kind of uses a silver, so we might be doing that to this Doomsday to match it up. Size-wise, they're pretty much even. I mean, this one got a little bit more height because of his ponytail, but I think this one has a little bit more actual height, like at the top of the head. So, pretty close battle, but this is a $200 figure, and this is basically like a $50 figure. So, you know, it's up to you what you want to go with. And of course, this one is, you know, slightly more articulated than this one is. Now, this one did come with the tattered cape. You put it like on the spikes of his fists. That was just a cool little add-on that they added in the signature series. But I'm wondering if you can actually, you know, do it with this one. Wow, you actually can. So, pretty cool. Awesome set. I'm not disappointed at all. He's an awesome Doomsday. The Superman is just a battle damaged bonus. It is up to you to do your own little tweaks and make these figures your own. But for me, they're awesome together. Pretty cool to have a Doomsday in the DC Multiverse line. But you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.